Hi guys, and welcome back to Midori's World. It is your girl Midori, and today guys we are going to be talking about the allegations against Jake Paul that YouTuber Justine Paradise is making. So let's begin. We are also going to be talking about why I am specifically not surprised if these allegations turn out to be true. So yeah, let's jump into it. So it seems like for a lot of people that the idea that a lot of YouTube influencers, especially white male YouTubers, have the possibility to do this to women. And to be honest, if we look back at a lot of their videos, which a lot of us are doing nowadays, looking back in the past, looking back at these microaggressions, but also just the treatment of these people treating their friends and etc., we can see that there were signs that this was a possibility that was probably going to come out. Like if we look at James Charles videos and we look about the allegations that came out from all these boys the first time, you know, when around the time Tati had made her Bye Sister video, we can see that, you know, when we look at that time era, that the future, our present, was probably going to happen. And also in Tati's Bye Sister video, we can also see that she actually made a lot of points that now we can see, you know, are very much credible. However, I will say that it was very ridiculous for her to bring it out due to him not supporting her line of products. She should have brought it to the public because she knew it was a bad thing to do. You know, doing it because someone's not supporting your brand. You know, that's ill. Then we have David Dobrik, who is mean to his friends. And, you know, back then a lot of people took it as a joke, but we also have to remember their subscribers were mostly kids, so a lot of us weren't, you know, minding their stuff. And now we can look back at that and we have the information to make a decision of how wrong those things were, and those things were not right. However, David Dobrik thought he could get away with it and did not apologize until he realized the severity of what was going on. Which is a habit that we've been seeing with influencers. When they think that they can get away with it, they will try, they will not speak up. Most of the time they will have one of their lackeys speak up for them instead of them doing what's right and holding themselves accountable for the person who had power in that situation and not choosing the right decision. It's about accountability, and that's where we get to Jake Paul. So Justine Paradise is basically alleging that Jake Paul sexually had assaulted her. Justine Paradise and her friend basically wanted to hang out with some boys. So she called up and like hit up a friend, texted him, and he was like, yo, you come chill with us. And you know, that's when she met Jake Paul, because the friend was chilling at Jake Paul's crib. You know, this was the era of when Jake Paul was doing kids bop rap. You know, if you don't remember those days, he was doing kids bop rap and, you know, trying not to, you know, get his Disney flow. You know, he's trying to sell those records, those Disney flow records. I digress. So yeah, so that was the era of all of this. So Justine Paradise gets over there, she meets Jake Paul, and you know, they spend time texting. She says that he was acting weird, he was very socially awkward, which if you've seen Shane Dawson's documentary on him, you can understand that he was also awkward in that as well. So yeah, he was very awkward. So they were texting through the phone, even though he was like right next to her, which is like very weird, but you know, okay, go off. But yeah, so they were texting, stuff like that, and basically it built up to this moment in which he brought her up to their room, and she thought that, oh, they're just gonna chill, hang out, but it was not that. It led to them dancing. Dancing led to him being on his bed, and then it sort of led to you know, him thinking that it was leading to sex, which it was not. It was not leading there at all. When she said no, he got upset, and she thought that, you know, it was all said and done. They were going to go back downstairs and act like it never happened. However, what truly happened was that, you know, he forcibly grabbed her and started, you know, having oral sex with her face and ejaculated in her mouth. Now, to her stance, she says that it was not rape. She says she was just sexually assaulted, something around those lines. And what she wanted at the end of it was an apology. She does have proof that she was in the Team 10's house. She does have proof of text messages, and she also does have photos being outside of, the mansion. So she does have evidence that she was there. Still, we have not heard back from Jake Paul, so, allegedly these things have happened. In the court of law, you are innocent until proven guilty. But this girl has evidence. She has a lot of evidence to back it up, but also as the patterns that we have seen with Jake Paul, it backs it up as well. But then on top of that, it's been a couple of days and he hasn't really said anything, hasn't even released a statement. And I think it's more telling that we live in a society now where a lot of influencers have done wrong by people, and they think that by saying nothing, it will go away. This problem is not going to go away. That is not how it's going to work from here on out. As we can see from James Charles, as we can see from David Dobrik, as we can see from Dirty Dom, that is not how it's going to roll. Even Shane Dawson. However, with that said, do I believe her? Yeah, I do believe her. And why? Because this is a pattern. This has always been a pattern with Jake Paul. And if we look back, we can actually see that this was going to happen soon. It was probably going to happen one of these days, because there was no one in his corner that was actually holding him, high press, accountable for his actions. Nor was there anyone in his corner to really press him to be like, yo, you shouldn't be doing that. Except for his mom, and maybe his brother. His brother did hold him accountable a couple of times, but he didn't really have anyone who was with him on consecutive basis who was like, yo, bro, you shouldn't be doing this. He had a lot of yes people around him. However, with that said, it does not make anything that he's done right. I just want to say that. So the first reason why I think this girl is true, because there's a part of it when she says that after she had said no to him, he got very aggressive, he got very upset, then he forced himself on her, and they had oral. Then after that, he said, come on, let's go. And he got very aggressive, he got very demanding with her. Now, this led me to remember the time when Alissa Violet left Team 10. Now, that whole situation was extremely messy, and it was very problematic, because I do remember people were saying that, Alissa Violet was a thought and stuff like that, and that, oh my God, Jake Paul didn't deserve her, blah, 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 everyone was going for, that girl and saying because Jake Paul was putting out all these fake narratives about it, So with that said, Alissa Violet came out with a video, and in that video, well, two videos. She came out one explaining why she left Team 10, and then she also came out with another one explaining later on when her and, that's my cat's tail, explaining why her and like before she made that everyday bro thing, you remember that? So yeah. So she made a video with Rice Gum and her boo man at the time, and they were talking about a lot of stuff. Now, if you look at those two videos, Alissa Violet states a lot of the time that when Jake Paul did not get his way, he was very aggressive, but also that he was very manipulative and possessive. He liked things to go his way. If things did not go his way, it was a problem. It was a big problem. Also, so in My Girlfriend Was Assaulted, that was on FaZe Banks' channel. It was a video where FaZe Banks was talking about Jake Paul as a person, as well as Erica Costell. And the video also pertained both Alissa and Rice Gum in it. I was going to show you guys a clip, but I don't want to get copyrighted or anything, or copy strike, so I'm just going to give you a summary of what I was going to post. So in this video, basically he starts off by saying, FaZe Banks, saying that he's very disappointed in Jake Paul because he assaulted not only Alissa, but also Erica Costell, which also Alissa then corroborates later in the story, saying that she has seen Erica been assaulted by Jake Paul in front of her own eyes, but also that she herself has been assaulted by Jake Paul as well,
And she also got text messages after she came out with, I think, her video of why she got kicked out of Team 10. A lot of girls were texting her saying, oh my God, I had the same experience with Jake Paul as a person. Now, some of those experiences that she talks about in this video is how Jake Paul used to spit on her, spit where she was on the ground, just around her, which is very disrespectful and very crazy because spitting on a person is one of the biggest disrespects you can do. So the fact that he did it to her multiple times and thought that was okay is very vile. He also pushed her in a bush, I think like a thorn bush, and she, till this day, at least around when the video was, she had scars from. And he was okay with that. He did it on purpose. He knew what he was doing. It was very malicious and she actually got hurt. Also, on top of that, she just talks about how he was also like, verbally and just mentally an abusive person. So, what I can't understand is how we can not look at this video and not believe that this could possibly happen to Justine. Especially in this video, she also talks about how his temper sometimes gets out of control and sometimes he just gets really angry. And also, he says a lot of racist, problematic, misogynistic things about women to both him and Erica, in which Erica Costello also got upset at, and things of that nature. So that's what happens in this video. And if you want to hear the full thing, you can go down in my comment bar and you will see that video. But just keep on watching because I go deeper into other women who have come out about him. So let's go on to the next video Alissa Violet has made. So the next video that Alissa Violet has made was What You've Been Waiting For. And basically, she came out with this video after she got kicked out of Team 10 by Jake Paul. And the reason why he kicked her out was because he said she, quote unquote, was cheating. However, they never openly came together and said, okay, we are dating. He always had her pining for him while he was sleeping around with all these women, bringing them in and out of Team 10, even telling her sometimes to leave the room so he can sleep and, have relations with women, even though he told her like a day ago or two that he loved her, which is really fucked up if you ask me. I digress. Yeah, so that happened. And so Alissa, after a while of being, put under, basically she was gaslit. After being gaslit for a long time and being like, this is messed up, she played her own game and she slept with a guy. People are alleging that it is Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul. I'm just saying alleging because I'm not there, so I don't know. But yeah, so allegedly it was Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul. He got really upset and he basically kicked her out. He threw all her stuff, like her stuff was all over the floor. I don't know if you guys remember that video. I think he put it on Instagram or something like that. But her stuff was all over the floor. It was everywhere. It was a hot mess, and it was just so disrespectful. And it's just so sad to see that that happened. But also, she does talk about this one. I believe like he has to agree to everyone that is in and out of that. Of Team 10, which is also very controlling. And she also talks about how he never allowed her to have men over, but he was allowed to have all women over at any time of day. So I think that that's also goes to show how controlling he is, just what type of person he is, how he doesn't want anything with Alissa Violet, but he wants to have her around for when he needs her or when he needs, just a pick me up, I guess, which is very fucked up to think and to treat a woman. Thank God, she's not in that now. And yeah, so that is a thing too that can be seen in What You've Been Waiting For by Alissa Violet.
Video, she explains that he threw her stuff on the floor and was getting upset at her because I think she was like talking to a guy or something like that around that time. However, he was cheating on her and fucking multiple bitches all around the place and all around the world. So make that make sense. Make that make sense of why that is okay for a guy to spit in another woman's face. Make that make sense of why it's okay for you to manipulate and have a woman, but at the same time not claim her, not respect her, and when she wants to go do her own thing, you get upset, you kick her out of the house. Make that make sense. So in terms of how she explained when she said no to him, oh yeah, I do think he got pissed. I do think he got upset. I don't think he took it well, because it doesn't seem like he ever takes, anything well when it comes to getting a no. And I don't feel like anyone really puts him in check. And the people that have put him in check usually don't stay around too long. If you really look back, like Alissa Violet was trying to put him in check, and then she was out the door. So yeah, that is one thing that I think is like, shows how aggressive he can get when he does not get his way, but also it also self-reflects how he treats women and how he views women. Because if you take this girl's account and Alissa Violet's account, now that's two women who have shown that, that when he doesn't really respect women in the way that he should. Basically, point, simple, blank. If we then look at Jake Paul when he was with that other girl, Erica Costell, he also cheated on her a couple of times, was not good to her, did not treat her right, even though she was there doing that Shane Dawson documentary. And, that was also a big, huge mess. And I think at the end of it, like, they're good friends now. Like, all is forgiven, all is blown over. But when it first happened, it was a very messy breakup, and it was not good. Then we also have to take account Tana Mongeau. So when Tana Mongeau and Jake Paul broke up, she was very heartbroken. She said she put a lot of energy into him. Let me just say that Tana Mongeau cares a lot about Jake Paul, and they're quote unquote close for the last time I checked. But yeah, with that said though, when Tana Mongeau came out with that statement, or like that video explaining like, oh, she doesn't feel like herself, and she was like on her bed saying, hey guys, like, hey, this is Tana Mongeau, let's sit down and talk, I haven't seen you guys in a long time, and still haven't apologized to everyone for saying the N-word, things like that. She did say, I think maybe it was like in her MTV show or something like that, but basically her and Jake Paul had a big blowout because of that video, and he did not like that she was stating her opinions about the relationship even though it was over. And he had already publicly embarrassed her by saying that he fell out of love with her and fell in love with boxing, type of thing, So the level of disrespect when a woman gives you her all, and then you're out here saying, I fell in love with boxing and fell out of love with her, even though she was, being respectful to you. But then not only that, when she controls her narrative and now goes on her platform to talk about her her situation and how she feels about everything. Mind you, Tana Mongeau was very respectful throughout that whole video. He got really pissed off.
So, guys, let's get on to Tana Mongeau's clip. So, in this clip, it's episode 3, I think, of season 2. She basically comes clean about, or she at least talks about how her video that she made talking about her, mental health, all the stuff that was going on with her and Drake, rest in peace, her father, and just all the stuff that she was dealing with, which, even though I don't respect a lot of the stuff Tana Mongeau does, it's not right to then, it doesn't discredit all the other struggles they have, So I hope that she's doing a lot better, and I hope that she becomes a better person, and I hope that the people that she's done wrong get the justice that they need. But other than that, back to the main point, which is Jake Paul. So yeah. So she talks about when they're in the shopping mart, about how Jake Paul was very upset that she did that video, and he just didn't like it, which I find ironic because he was making her look stupid, saying that he loved he just fell out of love with Tana and fell in love with boxing. Like, she didn't save his whole damn ass career by dating him, but it is what it is. But yeah, so that happened, and yeah.
Also shows that he is very controlling. He's a very controlling guy. He likes things to happen the way he wants it. And when it does not happen the way he wants it to, then it is a big problem for him. And that is, not good. That is absolutely not good. So that is like another thing. And then I also, like I said, but I do want to say him and Tana Mongeau are good now. They're on good terms. I don't want to make it seem like anything, but they are on good terms. But at that time, it does go to show you the type of person or the type of character he has to be upset that someone else is speaking their truth or speaking their point of view. Like, why is it okay for him to speak his point of view on a situation, but she can't? It's been a couple of days and we've had nothing from Jake Paul. He has not made any video. He has not made anything on the subject, which I also think is, very, very weird. He might be building up a lot of stuff. He might be making his video, or he might be thinking that this will all go away, which is what a lot of content creators or influencers think. Like when we think of Nikita Dragon, when we think of, Jeffree Star, when we think of Shane Dawson, when we think of David Dobrik, they all think or have this whole mentality that, cancel culture, if you stay quiet, it will all pass away. And I agree with them. There has been a lot of times where we as a collective community have given these influencers passes for a lot of the things that we shouldn't have given them passes for, because now look, now they think that they can do anything and be untouchable. And that is also a big problem. I digress. Hopefully he does respond. Hopefully he sets things clear. Hopefully he makes it straight. But I will say though, a lot of people are saying that this doesn't fall under rape, but it actually does. If you legally go online and say what falls under rape, if you are in a situation and first you say no to sex, and then someone takes your face and forcibly fucks it, that is still rape. That is still rape by state. Like by United States law, it's still rape. This is not me trying to put anything out there, but that is facts being facts. That is rape. So yeah, I just want to say that. And yeah, that is what it is. That is what it is, guys. But the victim herself said that she said that she felt like she got sexually assaulted, so leave it at that. But I will say, for future references, if you have been in a situation where you have given oral sex without your consent, have had sex without your consent, or anal sex without your consent, that is rape. That is rape, my dear. Or male. Because both men and women do face these type of problems. So yeah. And now on to the last part, the letter. So a long time ago, Jake Paul's house, his old Team 10 house, after they cleared it out, was looted. Or it was looted before, somewhere in between, but it got looted when they were moving. And someone took a letter, a personal letter that Jake Paul's mom had wrote to Jake Paul, and made it public domain knowledge. Now, I will have all links to my findings and all this information if you would like to check that out. Now, a lot of people say that it's hard to verify if the letter was real or not, but if we take this letter into account, it would also shed a light of why I'm not surprised that this is happening today. In the letter, Jake's mom expresses a lot of worry. She expresses a lot of fear for her son. Clearly, she cares deeply for him, and she basically is worried about the decisions that he is making. She feels like he is making a lot of, erratic decisions that may hurt his future. And she, as a mother, cares about her son's future and is very worried. And she's like, hey, I don't appreciate or, think it is in your best interest to be, sleeping with all of these women. Which in the video that Justine Paradise, made, she said that he had a lot of women going in and out. This is also something, if we look at all his girlfriends, he's also cheated on them multiple times. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that his mom would have fears about his sexual intercourse and how many women he's sleeping with, and the frequency in which he is sleeping with them. So there is that. So yeah, and so that is another thing. And also, yeah, back to the letter. So in that letter, she states that she's really worried about it. She's also very, very worried that a woman will make allegations of rape, of, sexual assault, of, someone hurt, them getting hurt by him and stuff like that. So I think it's very important that that is added in there, because now, the mom's worry has come to fruition, and it's a very sad thing to see if these allegations are true. Again, the girl has proof, but I also do think it's like, let's at least hear what he has to say. But I do stand with the victim always. I do want to say that. I stand with the victim always. I stand with her. However, I'm just trying to come at this from a very unbiased point of view. But, at the same time, seems like the writing's on the wall. But anyway, so yeah. So in that, his mom is worried, and she basically wants him to slow down the women that he is having intercourse with and sleeping with, and wants him to look for more women who are like, that he knows, he's built a rapport with, and he has connections with, instead of just sexual connections. And from what it seems like, from all of this, what I could gather is that he does have a lot of, he might be a sex addict. I don't want to label that, but I do think that a lot of the time when people are running away from things sometimes, or have a lot of issues, sometimes they can be sex addicts, or he could just be a simple sex addict. I think that the way that girl, in the video it described, but also the way he cheats on every single one of his girlfriends, it just seems that he is, one, non-monogamous, but also he just has a sex addiction. And that's not a bad thing, but it is something that you should work on if you are looking for something with monogamous. I digress. Yeah, so mom was very worried about that, and she states that she just doesn't like that, and she feels like that is going to be something that will ruin his career, among other things, which is his erratic behavior. At that time, I think Jake Paul was doing a lot of videos, and a lot of his neighbors were getting upset, which is why they had to move and all that stuff. Like, there's just a lot of stuff going on. So I'm really not surprised about what Justine said. I really hope that she does go to HE. I really hope that she goes to speak on H3H3's podcast, but also the Frenemy podcast, because they're great people, and they have a better expertise in this stuff. But I do want to say that I do stand with her. I do believe the victim, and I also do believe what Justine is saying, based on everything that we have seen over the collective years of his character, but also the type of things that he's done and not really felt remorseful for. And yeah, and even when we look at that time period, and we look at like the Shane Dawson era, when he was doing a lot of like, videos on the most toxic people that shouldn't have been revived. When we look at that, Shane Dawson basically helped Jake Paul become more liked, because around that time a lot of people hated Jake Paul because of his personality, how he was, how he was being very immature, how he was scamming his fans and taking their money, things of that nature. So had it not been for Shane Dawson, I don't know where his career would have been, or if it would have been if it would have transitioned into the way it did on YouTube. So that too. So yeah. And that's also why I think that Shane Dawson, if Shane Dawson comes back, I hope that he doesn't do documentaries because he wants to be liked or for the views of the most correlated, hated people, but do it for trying to maybe help people or something like that, if he does come back. I don't think he should, but if he does. But yeah, and that is all I have to say on this topic, guys. It is really important that we take care with this topic. It is really important that we show respect. I hope that she gets the healing that she needs, Justine Paradise. I hope that she gets the apology she needs to get from Jake. But also I hope she gets the justice that she needs. And if it turns out that this is all not true, then well shit, shit. well then shit, you know, that's a fucked up person. But yeah, so thank you guys for being here and listening to my talk about this whole situation. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, but also comment down below on your opinions of what I'm saying. I always enjoy to hear them, respectably. And yeah, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time for my next discussion. Okay, bye guys.